Hello everyone and welcome to Decaying Winter, where today I'm going to be showing you every single perk that I currently own. The only perk that I don't have is the sickler, but once I eventually get that, I'll make a separate video on that. So, on to the first perk. What the perk gives you is that it gives you 6 inventory slots with being fully quenched and fully nourished. So, the upside of this class is that there are no cons to it. These are free stats and you don't...
Readings indicate this area is safe.
So, aside from being shot to death, what this class is that basically it's your basic normal class. I think I'm dead here though. But it doesn't have any. There are no special powers of this class. It's just a normal class, which gives it a, which is okay, but it also really, it's just basic. It's a good starting class because you. Just trying to find something here. You just get everything that's pretty much necessary to survive a game like this. On the other hand, though, the bad part of this class is that there's no like special anything about it. It doesn't have any special abilities or any extraterrestrial that can save the game. And starting with the nourish and quench is pretty bad because it doesn't last for that long. But yeah, that's the basic class. On to the next, or survivor class. On to the next one. Next class is the hive mind class. So this class, in my opinion, is the best class in the game. Now, you may be wondering, why is this? It's because of my special ability. Also, it does, but the cons are very bad. You cannot have this, you cannot put yourself as a tank at this class. The buffs are that you lose, basically the cons are that you lose more health, melee speed and melee damage. But the upsides is that you have increased stamina, and you have a hive aura. Which, if I can find an enemy, which I will now, here's how the hive aura works. The hive aura is like a passive aura that comes around you. Let's fight this guy, for example. Shovel guy, right? If he gets near me, he should be affected by there, you saw that hit mark? Basically, what's happening now is that my class is giving me a sickness effect, which is that this whole class is little gimmick. It's a poison class. You're supposed to use it for poison enemies. So it has 3 modes: direct, disperse, and divide. Direct is where the bugs automatically hold onto any enemy in your radius. Disperse, around you, it will spread the bugs in a 5 to 5 radius, where 5 patches of little bugs will go around you in every direction. So I was standing here, the bugs would go around me in a square formation. And divide is a straight line of bugs that goes for around 10 blocks. So if I was standing here, I'd probably reach that fence over there. This class is one of the best classes in the game. But and here's what divide looks like, or disperse. So on to the next one. So the next class is called the Knuckle Fist class. So this is a very melee based class where everything in melee has been increased melee speed, damage, and I think shoving speed. The cons of this class is that you lose a lot of gun power, or that you lose a lot of your gun proficiency. Okay, he's dead. Or a sniper too. I can take hits. So also the special power of this class is that it's not strong, but it's not bad either. The Knuckle Fist class, where if I can find one melee enemy forgot to remember. Here's what works. You equip like this, and like it's a shotgun that stuns and does a relatively strong amount of damage. It's not entirely that strong. It recharges very fast though. With it being able to do a lot of damage. This could possibly. This does a lot of damage actually for the class it is. I don't know if one is anything. Basically, it's like a shotgun on your wrist. It's very fast recharging and it's very melee based. Fight him right here too. Dead. Never mind. Okay, it's not as strong as I thought, but it does about 50 damage per blast. This is depending on. Oh crap! Not finding you. This is really depending on the radius or how close they are to you. Like, it's not great. It's not the best class you could get, but also not bad because of its physical capabilities. It's a very good class for if you're going a melee way. But this class is no good at that because you lose a lot of your gun potential with melee damage and stuff. Also, this is one of the more tankier classes in the game. But yeah, this is the Knuckle Bust class. On to the next one. MP3 class, or the minigun class. So for this one, I won't be able to show the ability because it's a very long charging ability. But at 50% this should charge. Also, if I find ammo, it should increase the charge, right? Yeah, charge it. So, here's how this class works. It's a big minigun, which does a lot of damage. So 50%, so I can use it now. So this class is a minigun class, mostly gun. Like you have, this is your ranger class, pretty much for the whole game. Melee, you don't lose that much in melee capabilities, but you do lose your melee damage. When you scavenge ammo, you increase your percentage of the big minigun, or what I like to call the most broken gun in the game. This ability can be used at 50%, but you will run out of it very quickly. So, when you activate the class, you pull out a big minigun like this. It has no aim, and you can put it away if you want to. Or it doesn't do anything, but the whole point of the class is to just fire at people like this. Like that. So every bullet counts for 1% with the max damage dealing at least 18 or more. Oof! The maximum damage you can do is 18 per body shot. It cannot land headshots due to the ability not really having the capacity to do that. Also, you lose the ability to aim guns, which is a very bad con for this game because getting headshots is very important. But the minigun is very strong. If it's charged up, if it isn't charged up, you don't have an ability to use it. But with all the pros that it gives you, you should be able to survive for at least one wave. This is basically the whole class. There's no special other abilities besides a minigun. So, on. Next class, well, it's called the Bounty class. As you see with my stamina bar, you gain extra stamina. I gain extra stamina because it's a traitor. And the whole purpose of the class is that you're a bounty hunter. You look for bounties which gave you extra damage and you use scrap. Also, most guns spawn with ammo, but there's one major downside to this class, so that's good. But there's one major downside to this class. So if I put this on, right, it gives a bounty. 100% wanted, vandalism, and narcotic distribution. So if I kill this guy, I will gain 1 charge. Now, that's a good thing. So if I kill enemies, I will gain a 5% damage increase. So I've got 2 nano bars on my helmet. So he's got a gun, I'm not buying him for that. So this is like a very built-in out class. Because if you take damage, you lose some of like the charging. I'm gonna fight you now. So my damage increases by at least 1% or 5% every single time. But your class is very like, it's one of the more like hard classes to play. Cause yes, you do get damage increase, but if you take off the helmet, you gain scrap. I think it's 7 scrap for every enemy you kill. The ability can also regain health when you're not using it, but you lose your damage. So it's a very like, it's a hard class to play because you can't use your ability that often. But when you use it, you usually do very well with it because of the scrap gain. What this class wants to do is that once you get like a very strong melee weapon, so then when you use a class, you can easily increase your damage. Personally, a very weird class which has a lot of potential, but you have to be very careful how to use it. And yeah, that's the bounty hunter class. Next class is called the Aegis Protection class, or what I like to call Big Shield class. So this class is very simple. You got a shield, which is very strong. You can survive at least. So there are enemies in the game called sledgehammers. This can at least survive 2 sledgehammer shots before it goes down, and it lasts roughly about a minute before it charges off. Now that is one of its most. Now it's a defensive and offensive class. Its second ability is that it gives you a turret, which the turret is not strong, but it's not that bad either. Perk does passive damage with also stunning enemies. Well, try stunning enemies. It's a very inaccurate turret, however, and its radius is very poor for an ability of a class. Another thing about this ability is that it's a very hard class to play, because you don't get much of a class, with it being very limited to only having one use, and that's protection. The turret never having an actual use because of how weird it is. Game for good reason, because the turret is a single F press, which spawns like a little turret. Very bad, does not do much for you. I say this class is very undervalued and should be buffed in the future. It's not that strong of a class. But on to the next one. Next class is what I like to call the tit class. So, the main ability is that you can summon out little tits, which when seen by an enemy will instantly lock onto them. They have 2 modes. That's these things. One is a homing thing. One is a homing class, which basically does not follow you around, but it will stay still for most of the time. The red, however, is a homing, which when it sees an enemy, when it sees an enemy, it will instantly look onto the enemy and it will run up to them. Are you serious? Another fracture? Please go away. But as you saw that, it's basically the blue one is stable. It does not move and it will not move under any circumstances. Your teammates, and blue is safe. It does less damage but will not affect you or your teammates. And that's the whole ability of this class. I say it's one of the best. I want to say it's one of the better classes because these things are very useful. They don't do a lot of damage, but they do their job by protecting you from any danger. So I say it's a very well thought out class. The next class is, well, it's interesting. It's an interesting class. The ability to fire these little knives, right, that connect the line, that will concuss enemies. Not concuss enemies, but they will stun enemies for you. Your left click or your right click gives you back these classes, with them only being 10% each. So, the big problem with this class is that it's not strong. In my opinion, it's one of the weakest classes in the game. This is useful as it will stun enemies on hit. but the stun doesn't last that long, and it's very easy to break out for enemies. It's also not that good at keeping you safe, as enemies can run through it very easily. Also, the stun doesn't always happen, with the stun usually not. The stun usually not. With being a one-time thing, where the enemies have a slight period of resistance to it. It is very good though for taking care of enemies for you, or keeping them distracted while you collect stuff on scavenging. Another good thing about this class is that you move a lot faster, but you do lose a percentage of your damage when losing this class, so you won't be doing a lot more damage. Another thing to consider when using a class like this is that your effective capabilities are decreased by a long shot, as your defense is increased so you can put out traps. Also, the amount of damage with traps you do has been also increased as well, with the class mainly being a trapper class. It being able to spread out these things from long distances. But the same problem still rises. It's not very accurate, and it's a very underpowered class in my opinion. As enemies, for number one, go through every one of these little knives, with there being a grace period between each stun. Another thing is that they don't connect very easily. They usually have all five to make it an actual valuable class to use. Overall, a very interesting class. Or your dynamite class, where you are given sticky grenades, right? Sticky frag grenades, which you can throw on enemies, walls, etc. You hold, it will explode until those little ticks right there, as you saw. Always remember that you are not immune to these, as you can hurt yourself, but not as bad as the enemies will be hurt themselves. This is a very solo-based class, as if you use it in multiplayer, you will most likely kill your allies. Now that's not saying that it can be used, that it's not possible to use this. It's not recommended, as the class is very explosion based, and most classes aren't explosion immune. But the greatest thing about this class is that it's very good for soloing, like decaying winter, for example. This is because of its main feature. It can cripple. Now, a cripple is like a fracture, where the enemy moves slower and you don't get shot by that. Where the enemy moves slower, they take more damage. If I use it right there, he will most likely die. That is because of the main upper of this class. It's very strong with killing enemies. But the main downside is that in multiplayer, you will kill your allies with it, because the damage is very quick and it does a lot of damage to almost everything besides yourself. Because you have explosion immunity, not resistance, I mean. But the main part is that it's a scavenger class. So, this shows everything, and when you click it, it shows enemies, loot. Purple means like weapons, I think. I think purple means like weapons and stuff. I forgot what it means. Sorry. Materials, right? Basically, this class is a very, it's okay. It's definitely not the best class ever, with it showing you materials and stuff. And like items. It's very good for that, because you lose damage. You do move faster though. It's a very good ability though. It's a strong ability, but mostly it's a very depowered ability, because you don't have offensive capabilities at all. So definitely one of the better abilities. It's definitely not the best ability, but it's well rounded. But I do think it does need a little bit more offensive. But yeah, that's the point of this class. What I like to call a scavenger class. Next class. So, this is called the assassin class, or what I like to call the assassin class. It's a very powerful ability, with the ability that when you do that, you are able to go into a mode called cloister. where you are given a melee weapon called Dre, where you are cloaked from every enemy and no one can see you. Another powerful ability of this class is that it gives you a perk called Cloaked, where Cloaked is very simply, it cloaks you. Unlike most other classes, this is a very fast charging class, as it gives you a lot of downtime, but gives you a very powerful class to use. Another factor of this class is that it is, or basically what you're allowed to do is that melee damage has been increased, and you are immune to something called fractured, which is very annoying. Another good factor about this class is that it's just very strong in general, with it having an almost an insta kill move. Great, I love when this happens. But a bad part of this class is that if you try and hit an enemy with it, the enemies can't see you instantly. So Cloak is mostly just like to get away from them, which is the whole point of it being an assassin type class. You can use this ability as many times as you want, but 100, but each percentage gives the ability 1% damage increase. So, this class is a very interesting class, with the ability to have a dog tag on it. I just want to get my attention. It's gone. This class does 70 damage for a headshot. Now that you see that one over there, that's called a dog tag. So I can use the dog tag for one thing. These are used for movement speed. As you see, my class is not deal a lot of damage with the percentage being so low. But if I charge it up to 45, it's 44 damage, so every percentage. So, which each dog tag increases 3 things: movement speed, I think increases damage as well, and it also has to have a second ability, where if I am hurt in any way, I can use 2 dog tags to restore 5% of my health. So every 2 dog tags, it's about, I think it's either 5% or it's like all 10 health, I think. But I see. So if I find this guy right here, right? 75 damage. This should kill him. There's one dog tag I got hit there, so if I press, so if I hold F, he'll use 1 dog tag to restore all my health back. This is a very strong class, but it's but you cannot use this class a lot when you're playing with other people, because very simply, it's a very like solo class, but it is very good for protecting others, as the sword can deal a lot of damage, with 100 being I think about 100 damage. So that's a Kiri class. It's a very strong class with it having healing capabilities, increased speed and damage, and or having your melee weapon on you. With being a very heavy support and having offensive capabilities. So, well, the first move is that if you hit an enemy with it, it shocks them, making them with them losing movement speed and being able to have increased defense. Another factor is that if you put this on your allies, you get something called the Lazarus Burst. Oh no, I got a that type of demon. Okay. Do we even have a weapon I can fight it with? So, oh, backpack. Annoying as well. Well, anyway, aside from that, this is a very support-based class with Lazarus. The Lazarus buff giving two buffs. The first buff is that I think each ally will have increased health and defense. And if I'm not mistaken, if an ally dies with the Lazarus buff, they will be revived, but very weak. But they will have a surge of increased damage with them being weakened afterwards. The shock can also hit multiple enemies, and the Lazarus buff can go to multiple enemies multiple allies at the same time. It's got a very long range. Well, it's not the longest range, but it can reach pretty far with it being like a shockwave. So this is a very support-based class. I suggest doing it with multiple players, not by yourself, because you don't have a lot of ability to yourself. You can apply it to yourself, which if I die here, I will revive, but the buff doesn't last that long. Also, that peel, it ignores all health status, so it's a very support-based class. It does not bypass the a full-on brute. His name is Calamity class, and what it does is that you move a lot faster with this class, and if you have a melee weapon, you can go ham on a lot of people. Its ability is that as you quickly find an enemy. Okay. If I basically, this is like an increased damage class where I will do 37 damage, where I will recover 2 HP every single second. If I kill an enemy. But the problem is that after that you lose damage and you're deafened. It's not bad though, as the decreased damage is only like 10% damage decreased. You can gain this buff going by either killing enemies or parrying enemies. And it's a very solo class. It is a very fun class because of how fast you move while you have that buff on. Let's find a melee weapon nice so I can show the parry. So, to show you how good this class can get is I will show you a night with using this class. You will probably not last long past night 4 because they start bringing guns into the mix. But on the first few nights where everyone's melee, you have a good chance of just molly-washing everybody. So let's use it here. I use it, I get increased damage. So when I parry someone, the buff starts from here. And I think my damage doesn't increase, but the buff lasts longer. And when I kill enemies, the buff resets. Every single time you do this, the ability lasts a bit longer and longer and longer. So, a big downside to this class is that no increased defense, which makes it a very glass cannon, where you have to apply a trace which will increase your defense. To be honest, one of the best classes in the game. And this is due to my ability. So, what the ability does is that it equips you. Yeah, it's not here. It equips you with a revolver off the bat, and your guns first of all spawn with ammo now. Well, some of them do. And here's how the class works: you equip a revolver. This I do not recommend using this while scavenging. If you do want to get the enemies away from your area, this is the best class to do that for because the class attracts enemies. Now, what this class does is that you pull a revolver. If you get a headshot with it, you get an ability called Deadeye, which increases all damage on any gun, headshot or body. Does not matter how much the increase is, it will increase damage. So, this is probably one of the best classes in the game, but the defensive capabilities are decreased to a minimum where almost everyone can kill you very quickly. It's very strong for also taking. It's also a very good class of getting the assassin class, which is the class which allows you to go into a smoke well and kill enemies. This is one of the best ways to get it, as that class is almost through a challenge. And yeah, this is a very good class. Multiplayer, one of the best. Solo, don't recommend because you have one shot with it and you can't multi-fire with the gun. So yeah, it's definitely one of the best classes in the game, and one of the funnest. On to the next one. So this is called the Flame On class or the Flamethrower class. And what this class does is that you have a flamethrower, which is automatically attached to you. Only goes up by 2%. Do not let this reach 100 though, otherwise you will die or will blow up. if you press F multiple times, you give yourself a fire buff where everything now does fire damage and you are immune to the fire effect. But this makes you a walking fire hazard, as you will be able to kill most enemies in a single go. But there is one major issue with this, that your percentage meter goes up by 50% every single time you use this class. Unless you did what I did just there. But it's definitely one of the most cautious play styles you could play. This is due to your ability having a very unfortunate end if you get to 100%, where you will blow up basically. It's definitely one of the best solo classes. Now, multiplayer on the other hand is definitely the worst class you could choose, as simply you will set everyone on fire, and there is nothing you can do about it. If you press F, you are immune to your own abilities fire for a short period of time, where everything will do fire damage, but if anyone touches you, even your allies, they will go on fire. Also, another fact about this build which is not the greatest is that the percentage goes down relatively slow, and the amount of damage output is not the greatest. But it's definitely one of the more funner classes, and it's not more of a serious class. On to the next one. So this is called the Demon class. Well, there's another Demon class, but this is basically the Occult class or the Summoner class. This is your main summoner. So, what this does is that, very simply, it gives you something called the Occult Knife. At will, the Occult Knife is definitely one of the most overpowered things this game has to offer, as it gives a very powerful buff. What is this buff, you ask? Well, if you throw it at someone, if you kill them, they become a ghost. Very simple. A very strong ghost. Oh, this is a very good combo with the Disperse or the Hive class, because they both have a similar concept, and if someone dies, they become a ghost. But a massive problem is that you also get a knife when you shove. This is why the increase in stamina is so high, because you have to shovel up this class. A massive problem though is that it's a very glass cannon, because you, one, take more damage from any source in the game, and two, your ability requires you to sacrifice a lot of health per class. Now, this isn't all bad, as the class is very strong on its own and can easily survive multiple hits from multiple people. But the class overall is definitely one of the hardest classes to play. And yet, this is the Occult class. Definitely one of the definitely one of the better classes in the game. Potentially one of the best, just due to how versatile it is, and the combos. But that is the Occult class. So this is called the Hive Mind class. Its main ability is that it can control people's minds. This used to be a very powerful class, but they debuffed it a little. Right now it needs to be damaged for it to be able to activate. So if I enter this now, so once you have damaged an enemy, this guy will now become my friend. He will not kill me now. So if he will fight guys for me now. And I think once every enemy reaches about, it's 50% or it's 20% health, the Hive Mind will latch on and it will be there for around. They also don't follow you; they just help you in battle. So, how long do these things last for? Depends on the enemy's health when you last hit them, as they drain a lot of health really fast. But they're very strong, as you can take over any enemy's mind. You just have to get them low enough so it means the Hive Mind can do its job. This can range from any enemy into the game. I do not know if it can take over bosses though, however, that is an unknown to me. However, Hive Mind class really shines is that its combo potential, just like the Occult class. This class is very good with the Hive Mind class, because the Hive Mind class is passive damage, and these things will only latch on someone if they have passive damage applied to them. Also, you can throw these things like really far, but these things just disappear a lot faster. And another disappointing fact about this class is that your defense is reduced very high due to the absurdity of how potential this class has in stock. I think the class is okay. It's not the greatest, it's not the worst. It's got its good fair share of buffs, but also debuffs. That's the Hive Mind class.